How much do you think she's worth? The question hung in the air as Catherine Winters adjusted her sapphire necklace, eyeing the plain woman who had just entered Boston's most exclusive charity gala. Not enough to be here, she smirked. Little did she know, the woman in the simple beige dress was about to teach them all a lesson in true value that would change their lives forever. The crystal chandeliers of the Hawthorne Ballroom cast a golden glow over Boston's most exclusive charity gala. Women in designer gowns adorned with diamonds glided across marble floors, while men in tailored tuxedos exchanged business cards disguised as small talk. Catherine Winters, Eleanor Madison, and Patricia Reynolds, Boston's social elite in the flesh, huddled together near the champagne fountain, their expensive jewelry catching the light with every gesture. The new hospital wing better be named after someone worthwhile this time, Catherine remarked critically. Last year's donors were hardly established. As the women nodded in agreement, a newcomer entered. Emma Sullivan stood in a simple beige dress, modest, unadorned, and painfully plain compared to the couture surrounding her. No statement jewelry, no designer clutch. Her auburn hair was styled simply, her makeup minimal. Who invited her? Patricia whispered, not bothering to lower her voice. And in that dress, it looks like she's here for a job interview, not a $5,000 a plate charity event. Emma moved through the crowd with a quiet confidence. At 34, she carried herself with natural grace that required no embellishment. What none of these socialites knew was that Emma had spent the morning touring the hospital's current pediatric ward, promising a little girl with leukemia that the new wing would have windows facing the garden where butterflies gathered in spring. I don't believe we've met, came Catherine's cultured voice beside Emma. Catherine Winters, hospital board fundraising chair. Emma Sullivan, it's lovely to meet you. Catherine's smile remained fixed as her eyes assessed Emma's attire, searching for a designer label and finding none. And what brings you to our little gathering tonight? Are you with the medical staff? No, Emma replied simply. I'm just passionate about children's health care. As Eleanor and Patricia drifted closer, circling like elegantly dressed sharks, Catherine's eyes narrowed slightly. There was something about this plain woman's confidence that unsettled her. Your dress, she began, voice dripping with false concern. Is it vintage? The question hung in the air, its true meaning transparent. Eleanor barely concealed a smirk behind her champagne glass. Just simple, Emma replied, unperturbed. I find elaborate designs distracting. How practical, Catherine replied, her tone making the words sound like an insult. As they guided Emma across the ballroom, Catherine subtly signaled to others in their circle, rolling her eyes when Emma wasn't looking. Whispers followed in their wake. Who brought the secretary? Is that dress from a department store? Poor thing, she clearly doesn't belong here. Dr. James Harris, the hospital's chief of pediatrics, approached their group with a warm smile. Ladies, wonderful to see you again. His eyes brightened upon seeing Emma. Miss Sullivan, I didn't know you'd be here tonight. Catherine's perfect eyebrows arched in surprise. You two know each other? Miss Sullivan visited our pediatric ward this morning, Dr. Harris explained enthusiastically. Spent hours with the children. Little Sophie hasn't stopped talking about the butterfly garden you promised her. Soon, the hospital's executive director, ascended the small stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "tonight marks a historic chapter for Boston Children's Hospital. For the first time in our hospital's 150-year history, we've received an anonymous donation that has left our entire board speechless." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. This individual contributed $25 million specifically for our pediatric oncology wing, with the single condition that the new garden terrace be called Sophie's Butterfly Haven after one of our young patients. Dr. Harris's eyes widened, his gaze immediately searching the room until it landed on Emma. "Our extraordinary benefactor has a unique understanding of childhood illness," the director continued. 20 years ago, she herself was a patient in our hospital. Today, she continues that fight on behalf of others. Miss Sullivan, would you please join me on stage? The room fell silent, then erupted in confused whispers. Catherine's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips, her expression caught between disbelief and horror. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce Miss Emma Sullivan, founder of the Sullivan Foundation for Children's Medical Research and our lead benefactor for the new oncology wing." Emma stepped forward to the microphone, her simple dress now seeming less a fashion faux pas and more a deliberate choice, a statement about values and priorities that made Catherine's designer gown suddenly feel ostentatious. "When I was 12 years old, I spent 9 months in this hospital fighting leukemia," Emma began, her voice soft but unwavering. "The doctors and nurses here didn't just save my life. They showed me what compassion truly means." As the evening progressed, Catherine approached Emma, her designer heels clicking purposefully across the marble floor. "Miss Sullivan," Catherine began, her voice honey-sweet. "What an absolutely wonderful surprise. Had we known of your foundation's important work—" "But you didn't need to know," Emma interrupted gently. "That's rather the point, isn't it? You saw what you expected to see, a woman whose worth you measured by her clothing and connections, rather than her character." 6 months later, Sophie's Butterfly Haven opened. Emma guided a wheelchair-bound Sophie toward a monarch butterfly resting on a purple coneflower. "See how the wings open and close?" Emma pointed. "They're drying in the sun, gathering strength for flight." "Just like me," Sophie whispered. "I'm gaining strength too." Nearby, Catherine Winters, now a regular volunteer, arranged children from the oncology ward into a small choir. Over the past months, Catherine had undergone a transformation as remarkable as the building they stood in. What began as embarrassment had evolved into genuine self-reflection and ultimately action. "I think I was asleep for most of my life," Catherine admitted to Emma later, "making judgments based on appearances, collecting connections instead of creating meaning." As they watched Sophie carefully coax a butterfly onto her finger, her face alight with wonder, Catherine spoke again, her voice reflective. "That night, at the gala, it wasn't really about the money, was it?" "Your point, I mean." "No," Emma acknowledged. "It was about seeing beyond surfaces, about recognizing that true worth isn't reflected in clothes or bank accounts or social standing." "Thank you," Catherine said simply, "for the humbling I needed." and for the opportunity to become someone better. End with children singing Rising, while Emma and Catherine share a knowing smile as a butterfly lands on the window between them.